Hello YouTube, this is the second Battlebots Minibots toy review, and I'm starting with Grunion. You may not remember Grunion, he was a lightweight robot, ended up going against Beta Raptor and ended up... Oh no, yeah. Went up against Beta Raptor and stopped moving, as I recall. Actually no, sorry, that was a different robot, but this robot was pretty obscure. You wouldn't really know exactly... It didn't do very well in the competition, so it's kind of surprising that it actually got a toy, or of any kind. I mean... It's one of several, actually. Hamunaftra, which is a super heavyweight, also got a toy. I mean, you would go, it's not one of the robots you would think of when you think of BattleBots. You think of probably Complete Control, all the more famous robots. And Complete Control actually got a mini-bot. I'll show you that shortly. But looking at the toy, it's very reminiscent of Grunion. It's double-sided, although unfortunately it's not the same way up. It's completely blank on the bottom side. But it does have his weapon, which... I don't think we have any record of what it does. I mean, it's obviously supposed to spin around. It's one of those special wing nut type of weapons. It's probably the best way to describe it. It's got a bunch of spikes on the side, which are actually fairly sharp, believe it or not. They're not like rubbery or anything. They're pretty sharp. So if you actually stepped on it, you'd probably have to be in at least a little bit of pain. It wouldn't be like serious or anything, but... And even the wheels, there's little... Is there any detail on the wheels? I don't know if there is. You probably... Not really. There isn't really any details on the wheels. But they at least had the, they managed to get all the stripes on the front. So, and there's tape on the top, because I like to play with them. Battle with them, if you will, to avoid as much scratching as much of the paint as I possibly can, because these are extremely rare now. You will always find these on eBay. Usually in a couple lots. I've actually seen a couple lots, including Toe Crusher was even on eBay. There's 50 in all, so I don't have all of them, as I said in the first video. It's got spikes on both sides to represent the toy the real robot very accurately. It's too bad they don't have any moving parts like the Robot Wars Minibots. At least the wheels moved or something, but I don't know. This is probably somewhat better because it goes backwards and forwards easily. Got to deal with the pullback motor. So that's Grunion. Go on to Scrap Daddy HW210, which is probably a little harder to see. He's actually got a weapon on here. In the TV show, it's actually silver, not black. But unfortunately, I've got a black t-shirt on, so you can totally lose it. Put it the other way around. It doesn't really help. Can't even see it on the other side. So, but it's nicely detailed. It's kind of surprising. This robot never did well either. In fact, it was literally not popular with the crowd. The crowd always booed the team Scrap Daddy. Not sure why. Probably because they just sucked as a whole. They never really did well. I mean, the only one that was even remotely good was Scrap Daddy Surplus, because it lost on a 24-21 decision to Wedge of Doom on the right terms. I think most people would disagree, but the ball and chain was not really effective at all. It did virtually no damage to Wedge of Doom. Yeah, it got a couple moments where it was tangled up and was able to drag Wedge of Doom around, although ironically, I would have thought that a weapon of that magnitude would be considered entanglement and had to be removed. Actually, from what I read, it also... One of its other battles, it managed to have the same issue and had to have the ball removed. I think it was in Season 4. Or maybe Season 3. I'm not really sure, but it was one of those two seasons. It was not Season 5, because it had no problem using it against Wedge of Doom. So I think Wedge of Doom won that fairly. But the toy is accurately represented here for the most part. I mean, obviously, I mentioned the blade is black. So you get a good shot of it there. It's also got some wheel detail, not much. Also, they managed to get some of the details on the top. I'm not sure what they're supposed to be representations of. I would guess it's not a self-righting mechanism because they never had any. I mean, Frenzy knocked this guy out pretty early in Season 2. But it's got a slope design. It's got the front, back wedge sort of thing. It's kind of surprising they actually made this robot, as I said before. But, it's accurate. It's Scrap Daddy HW. But it's a little more obscure, so you may not even realize that's who it is. So that's that one. We'll go on to Ramstein. Very easily recognizable. The double wedge design. This little, oops, dropped it. Here. The side, oh, I don't know what you'd call them, but they prevent it from landing on its side, obviously. It's got the little, I think this is an antenna, although this is meant to be an antenna. It might not be, but, I mean, I could also see it might be to tell which way up it is, but I don't know. Turbo had it too, so I reviewed that in the first one. I keep dropping these things. These are so small. I wouldn't think to drop them today, but I had no problem with them yesterday, the last one. But although there's tape here, you can pretty clearly see it's the same way up on both sides. Very accurate. It's even got the pneumatic ram on the front. It's kind of small though, so I may have to adjust. Yeah, you can kind of see it a little better there. Not great, but you got some minor details on the front. They don't have the Ramstein name on the top on either side, but hey, that's kind of a minor thing. That's really minor altogether. Because they got everything else. So it's easily recognized as Ramstein. I mean, most would probably recognize Ramstein. It's been in pretty much every series of BattleBots except at least season 4. It was in, yeah, because Dissector faced it twice and managed to beat it. So by knockout. Actually, Minion, it was even in season 1, and Minion beat it by knockout. It was not really functioning that well in that competition. But obviously, this is much better. So even they don't have moving parts, they can still have a lot of accuracy to the real robot. Last but not least, we have complete control. This is probably more. This is very clearly recognizable as well, even without the the sponsorship and the name. You can clearly tell this is complete control. It's got the grabbing arm, and then it's got on this side you can see the what is referred to as the super winch, little black thing here, kind of where my thumb is, where the little arm here is. Strangely, though, the forks are like a dark orangey color instead of like the bright orange. They're almost a brownish color, really. But it's obviously season 2. It's got the little struts on the front to stabilize it for when it's grabbing the opponent and picking them up. And I think these are CO2 tanks or something on the front here. One of them was damaged. I'm not really sure, but one of them was damaged against a Super Chiabot. So Super Chiabot actually would be at least somewhat of a threat. I mean, the toy's a little wider than I think it should be. The quick control is actually longer in this, but it may just be difficult. I mean, it's one of the more difficult robots, I would say, probably to convert into such a small format. I don't know. It might also be a little shorter in height than it should be, but it's pretty good. I mean, the thumb should actually be black, but I mean that's kind of again a minor detail there. See why the forks couldn't be flat on the ground because they're not. They're clearly upright. As you can see in this shot, they are angled. Even from this shot, it's a little bit more, almost like it's got an opponent and it's raising it up. You won't be able to do anything with this. This Minibot, unfortunately, will not do well. It's too high of a ground clearance. Even got the wheels. The wheels are just not going to be any good. The wheels just lift it right off the ground. I mean, maybe if you're lucky, you can potentially get it, but it's going to be flipped over pretty much every time. I've tried it. Okay, so that's my review on all 4 of the Minibots. Thanks.